My boyfriend was mute every time we were in bed. No matter what I did, he stayed silent, his lips sealed as if every word cost him his life. Strangely, when he did use his voice, it always drowned out mine. One evening, I sat in a dim downtown bar with my best friend Chloe, nursing a cocktail and gossiping. Half laughing, half complaining, I told her how maddening his silence was. But then, out of nowhere, strange glowing words began scrolling across my vision, like a bullet chat in a live stream. The sidekick still doesn't know the male lead is only pretending to be mute because he can't be bothered to waste words on her. I blinked, stunned. Another line flashed before my eyes. The sidekick dares to badmouth the male lead? That's Silas Kane, the future Syndicate king. The female lead is about to be reborn any second now. If the sidekick keeps running her mouth, her days are numbered. I froze, glass halfway to my lips. My pulse quickened. What the hell was this? Some trick of the light? My imagination? Before I could piece together what those words meant, the bar doors swung open. Silas walked in. My supposedly mute boyfriend. Except this time, he wasn't alone. A stunning woman flung herself into his arms, her voice dripping with emotion. Babe, I missed you so much. The glowing text blazed again. Whoa. The female lead has returned. Silas's eyes snapped to me across the crowded bar. For the first time since I'd met him, his carefully composed expression cracked. His lips parted, and he actually spoke. Honey, I don't know her. The sound of his voice hit me like a slap. 10 meters away, I tilted my head, trying to process it all. Honey? Who exactly was he calling honey? The words flickered in front of me again. Merciless. The sidekick doesn't seriously think the male lead is calling her honey, does she? He'd rather pretend to be mute than deal with her directly. I don't know her is about you, dumb sidekick. My cheeks burned. Oh. Well, then. My mistake. I turned on my heel, intent on leaving. But Silas broke away from the woman and came after me, his voice ringing out in the bar. Vivian. Vivian. It was the first time he had ever said my name. My steps faltered. I turned back slowly, staring at him blankly. Aren't you supposed to be mute? Silas froze, caught. Then he forced out a single phrase. I'm sorry. The glowing words mocked me again. Why is the male lead apologizing to the sidekick? Don't forget, the female lead treated him poorly in her last life. He's still bitter. He's just using the sidekick to make her jealous. I glanced past him. The beautiful woman was gazing at him, with tears trembling on her lashes. Babe, I was wrong before, she whispered, her voice breaking. I shouldn't have treated you like that in our past life. You died protecting me. This time, I swear I won't fail you again. Her raw emotion filled the air. A second chance, romance unfolding right in front of me. I suddenly felt like an intruder, an unwanted third wheel. The bullet chat wasn't helping either, gleefully reminding me of my supposed role in this twisted drama. After the female lead returns, the male lead pretends to love the sidekick just to make her jealous. And the stupid sidekick falls for it. Later, she clings desperately, even sending the female lead bed photos of her and the male lead. But when she goes too far, the Syndicate king hands her over to his men. The words painted a gruesome image that sent chills through me. As if on cue, several men in dark suits appeared behind Silas and the woman, their eyes cold and fixed on me. They moved fast, cutting through the crowd like sharks. Silas reached out, his face taut with something that almost looked like guilt. Vivian, let me explain. But every instinct in me screamed danger. I bolted. I grabbed Chloe by the wrist, yanked her from our booth, and ran. The bar erupted in confused murmurs as we pushed through the doors, my heart pounding like a drum. Chloe stumbled into the passenger seat of my car, still bewildered, as I slammed the engine to life and sped us into the night. Why are we running? Chloe's voice was a scatter of breath and confusion as she groped for the words, her brow knitted like she was trying to open a stuck jar. She peered out the window, then back at me. I ran into an ex. That limpy dude I face-bombed? No, the mute one. Wasn't the mute guy your current boyfriend? Her brain looked fried, like someone had shorted the wiring. I could not explain. Not in the back of a rideshare with a driver pretending not to listen. How do you tell your best friend that the world had just told you, via a pop-up of living text in your vision, that your life was a rebirth novel? That your boyfriend, Silas, was not only the male lead, he was dangerous in ways your gossip had never prepared you for? Chloe's jaw tightened. He was faking being mute and poor, she spat, indignation sharpening every syllable. I hate guys who fake their way into my pity. Tell him I said he's banned from the sympathy circuit, I muttered, trying to sound casual. Inside, my stomach had knotted into cold rope. I was ready to bow out of their tragic, romantic rerun, to be an honorable third wheel and step off stage. He's an ex now, okay? Chloe's hands went to the car door, a flash of righteous fury. Let's go back, make him pay. I yanked her hand, stopping her from opening the door as if that small tug could anchor us to safety. No, I said, and felt my voice tremble anyway. I'm tired of being in the middle. I'll leave. No drama. She stared at me, suspicious, then laughed, brittle. You're fronting. Vivian, cry if you want, don't hold it in. I laughed back, louder than I felt. Guys who only know one position, boring. I'm done. I said it to convince her, to convince myself. The rideshare driver kept glancing at us in the mirror, that professional, slightly fearful blink drivers give when strangers argue in the back seat. He hesitated, hand on the gear stick, like the engine was a choice he was still making. I was about to ask him to go when something tapped on our passenger window. I looked up and for a moment my throat closed. The driver had stepped out, hands folded, respect drilled into his posture. Mr. Kane, he said, voice thin with warning. Silas stood at the curb, flanked by two men who looked like they were carved from shadows. His smile was tight, as if someone had pulled a string through it and was about to snap. He lifted one hand, like a lazy wave, and humidity pooled at the base of my neck. The world tilted. Chloe's face paled. How did he find us? She whispered. Before I could answer, rough hands clamped around my arms. Men in dark suits moved with the easy violence of people who never hesitated. I tried to pull free, to tell them they had the wrong woman. Let Chloe go, I insisted, voice sharp. Silas's gaze skimmed me, and for a second there was something unreadable there, like a page with the corner folded. He nodded, and one of the enforcers eased Chloe back onto the curb, still bewildered, while the other two escorted me away, polite as executioners. They led me into a VIP room that swallowed light. The decor screamed wealth. Too much velvet, a chandelier that looked like it had been stolen from a palace, but the air was cold, clinical. Only the floating bullet chat remained bright, a cruel subtitle to the scene. The Sidekick is really asking for it, trash-talking the male lead about their bedroom life in a King Syndicate car. My face flushed hot, then cold. The text kept scrolling, unblinking. The main couple heard everything. The female lead looks pissed. The Sidekick might have lasted a few more chapters, but the male lead wants her dealt with. Now. A shiver ran down my spine. The room's silence was heavy, the kind that listens. Silas entered like he owned the air itself. He moved with that calm, quiet assurance powerful people have, the kind that makes weaker wills rearrange themselves. Up close, he was not the fragile, stoic boy I thought I knew. His features were sharp, his eyes steady, and when he looked at me, there was no softness. I didn't mean to say those things. I blurted because nerves have their own grammar. I thought your driver's car was my ride. The bullet chat exploded, merciless. Is the Sidekick stupid enough to mistake our roles for a rideshare? She's scared now, like a real person would be by that lame excuse. Silas's expression folded into something complicated, like a map of old hurts. He opened his mouth to speak, then his phone buzzed. He took the call, and his face went stone. The voice on the line seemed to peel away whatever humanity lingered in his features. He unclipped, the light in his eyes dying to a hard, businesslike focus. He skimmed that much cash, he said, low, distant, like he was reading from a ledger of sin. Got the man killed? His jaw tightened like a vice. Dying is too easy for him. I don't care how you do it, keep him breathing. I'll settle this myself. Stranger. The word crowded my thoughts. This was not the man who'd been mute in bed with me. This was Silas Kane, heir to something that swallowed people like me whole, and the softness I'd known was a costume he could remove when it suited him. As he pivoted to leave, the gravity of his presence pulled my courage together. I stood straighter and called out in a voice I hadn't planned, steady as a bullet. Dear driver and crew, call you Mr. Kane? The room held its breath. Kane, as in the Kane Consortium? Offices all over the world. My voice trembled. That Kane? Silas didn't answer right away. For a long moment, he only looked at me. Finally, he gave the smallest of nods. I swallowed hard. Silas, we're done. I won't come looking for you. I won't interfere in your life. About the money I spent on you. If you don't want to pay it back, that's fine. My voice grew weaker, words shrinking into the dimly lit room. But maybe, if you could just return the things I bought you. His expression darkened like a storm rolling in. He stepped closer, pressing me back against the wall, his shadow swallowing mine. What did you just say? His voice was low, dangerous. Say it again. Fear prickled across my skin. My hands shook as I lifted my phone like a shield. Forget the money, just let me go. Holding someone against their will is illegal. My best friend already called the cops. You called the cops? In the half-light, I couldn't see his face clearly, only hear the sharp displeasure threading through his voice. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the worst. But then, mercifully, his phone rang. He answered briskly and walked out, muttering instructions to the enforcers outside to keep an eye on me. The silence after he left was heavy. My chest ached from holding my breath. When Silas returned, something in his gaze had shifted. His eyes seemed brighter, softer, but there was still that edge beneath it all. Everything handled? I asked timidly. Yeah, honey. I flinched against the wall, my whole body recoiling. Don't call me that. Not only had he faked being poor, not only had he faked being mute, was he now pretending at something else? Multiple personalities, maybe? He closed the space between us, arms braced around me, caging me against the wall. He lowered his head and buried his face against my neck, his voice muffled and shaking. Honey, I've wanted to call you that for so long. I held back for ages. I froze. My mind screamed to move, but my body stayed locked. Maybe if I played dead, he would lose interest. Sensing my silence, Silas lifted his head. His eyes glistened. Faking the mute thing was wrong. I'm sorry. Don't be mad. Punish me however you want. He grabbed my hand, pressing it against his face. Hit me. Yell at me. Anything. I yanked my hand back, panicking. I wouldn't dare. He pouted, almost childishly. So you found out. Then he leaned in again. Instinct took over. I shoved him hard, desperation sharpening my voice. Silas, what game are you playing? You admitted it yourself. His brows furrowed, like my words didn't make sense to him. I steadied myself, breath ragged. You weren't just lying to me. You were a kidnapper. And that woman today. His pupils contracted sharply. I swear I don't know her. Silas, stop lying. I'm not some pathetic, clingy girl. My voice cracked, but I pushed past him, heading for the door. The enforcers blocked my path. I told you, I snapped, clinging to the only card I had. My friend called the cops. If you don't let me go, the King Syndicate is going to have a headache on their hands. The standoff stretched until my nerves frayed. Finally, Silas raised a hand and dismissed them with a clipped wave. I didn't look back. I walked out fast, every step a fight to keep from running. Only when I got home did I finally collapse, lungs burning. Even in this twisted novel world, the police still existed. If I stayed out of trouble, if I refused to play the sidekick the bullet chat described, maybe I could avoid the ugly fate it promised me. After that night, I forced my life back on track. I scrubbed Silas from my routines, from my home, from my future. The only traces left were the photos on my phone. I scrolled through them one last time, thumb hovering over the delete button. The final photo stopped me. Silas, asleep beside me, his profile turned toward the camera. His face was peaceful then, lips parted, lashes trembling faintly as though even in sleep, something tormented him. I remembered the message I'd sent Chloe that night. Finally got him. Who knew a guy silent in bed could be so hot? His silence makes me want to protect him. When we hooked up, he looked like he wanted to cry more than me. I'd even attached the picture. I hadn't expected him to wake up right then. Red-rimmed eyes flicking to the glow of my phone. His expression twisted, anger flashing raw. In a blur, he pinned me roughly against the headboard, his grip unrelenting. I'm sorry, I whispered, trembling. No more pictures. No more honey. I swear. But his hands only tightened on my waist. And that night, he didn't let me go until exhaustion dragged me into blackness. Silas bit my earlobe that night, a sharp little punishment that left me flushed and gasping. Then, as if that wasn't enough, he kept poking at my phone, scrolling through things I wished he wouldn't see. Half asleep, I mumbled. I wasn't picked by anyone else, only you. The fire in his eyes flared again, burning hotter. Needless to say, I didn't sleep much. By morning, I dragged myself to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and tried to pull myself together for work. When I opened the front door of my apartment, 2 suited enforcers blocked my way. I froze. My stomach dropped. One of them gave a polite bow. "Miss Ward, Mr. Kane asked us to return your belongings." Behind them sat several large cardboard boxes. My things. Everything I'd left at Silas's place. My clothes, my books, even the crystal chandelier I'd once splurged on during a particularly foolish rush of affection. My little kitty cat straw cup peeked out of the pile. The bullet chat lit up instantly. Good move. The male lead is getting rid of the sidekick stuff before the female lead sees it. That apartment was just one of his properties, anyway. He only used it to trick her. He's even selling it cheap now to avoid upsetting the female lead. Another line scrolled across my vision. Shouldn't the sidekick be clinging to him right now? Staying reluctantly in the apartment? Why is she crawling back to her own dump? I smirked privately. Thanks to this irritating chat, I already knew how the story was supposed to play out. But I wasn't about to follow their script. I had a job, a decent enough life. I could live just fine without clinging to a man who had lied to me and tossed me aside like set dressing. The enforcers dropped the boxes in my apartment and left. I glanced at the clutter, sighed. Corporate drone that I was, I had no time to sort through any of it before work. I reached for my bag, ready to leave, then froze. The bullet chat flickered again. The male lead missed something. The mood candle lamp. That lamp the sidekick bought. He only tolerated her tacky style because of that lamp. A chill crawled down my spine. I dug through the boxes frantically. The lamp wasn't there. Of course. The chat continued mercilessly. That lamp has plot relevance. Later, when the apartment sells, the female lead sees it and gets jealous. The male lead soothes her in bed. Classic second chance romance scene. I nearly laughed out loud. So, even my candle lamp was nothing more than plot fodder? Every piece of me, even the things I bought with my own money, was just set decoration for their story? Fine, I muttered. Screw work today. I'm calling in sick. Half an hour later, I found myself standing outside Silas's apartment building, palms sweaty, heart thudding. I told myself I wasn't here for him. Not hung up. Not hoping to see him. Just here for my lamp. Deep breath. I punched in the access code. My birthday. The one he'd set before. Access denied. My pulse skipped. The bullet chat mocked me immediately. Sidekick still trying her birthday? Please. The male lead doesn't even want the place anymore. She should try the female lead's birthday. Grinding my teeth, I tried again. This time, the lock clicked. The door swung open. And there stood Silas, his expression thunderous, his presence filling the space like a wall I couldn't push through. Fury radiated off him. And before I could say a single word, he closed the distance, forcing me into his arms. His arms locked around me like steel bands, pulling me against his chest with a desperation that felt almost violent. I could feel his heart hammering beneath his shirt, matching the frantic rhythm of my own. You came back, he breathed against my hair, his voice raw. You actually came back. The bullet chat erupted with fresh commentary, the glowing words scrolling past my vision with cruel efficiency. Look at the sidekick, already back in his arms. She lasted less than 24 hours before crawling back. The male lead's plan is working perfectly. I stiffened, trying to push against his chest. Let go. I'm just here for my lamp. But Silas only held me tighter, his grip bordering on painful. Lamp. His voice cracked slightly. You broke into my apartment for a lamp? I didn't break in. The code. I stopped myself, heat flooding my cheeks. The female lead's birthday. Of course, he'd already changed everything for her. The sidekick is embarrassed she had to use another woman's birthday to get in. Pathetic. She still doesn't understand she's just a placeholder. You used her birthday. It wasn't a question. His voice had gone quiet, dangerous. I lifted my chin, meeting his gaze despite the way it made my stomach clench. Your girlfriend's birthday worked just fine. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, maybe even hurt. She's not my girlfriend. The laugh that escaped me was bitter. Right. Just like you're not a Syndicate heir. Just like you were really mute. I pushed harder against his chest. I don't care what she is to you. I just want my things and then I'm gone. The bullet chat glowed mockingly. The male lead is confused. Why isn't the sidekick begging him to explain? Where are the tears? The desperate pleas? She's supposed to be clinging to him by now. For the first time, I felt a small surge of satisfaction. Let their precious script be confused. Silas's grip loosened slightly, and I took the opportunity to step back, scanning the apartment. It looked different somehow, cleaner, more sterile. Like any trace of my presence had been systematically erased. "Where is it?" I asked. "Where's what?" "My mood lamp. The one with the crystals that changes colors." I kept my voice steady, businesslike. "It wasn't in the boxes your men delivered." His face went carefully blank. "I don't know what you're talking about." The bullet chat lit up again. "He's lying. The lamp is in the bedroom. He kept it because it reminds him of her, though he'd never admit it." Classic male lead behavior. Pretending not to care while secretly clinging to mementos. My heart did something stupid and fluttery at that, but I squashed it down. It didn't matter if he kept it. It only mattered that I got it back. "It's in your bedroom, isn't it?"
His jaw tightened.
"You're not going in there." "Then bring it out here." We stared at each other, locked in a battle of wills. Finally, he turned and stalked toward the bedroom. I waited, arms crossed, trying to ignore the way the apartment felt like a museum of our relationship, beautiful, untouchable, and utterly hollow. He returned empty-handed. "It's not there," he said flatly. I knew he was lying. The bullet chat had basically given me a roadmap to his thoughts. But before I could call him on it, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Building security has been alerted to an intruder. Please vacate immediately or police will be called." My blood went cold. "Did you?" "I told you to stay away," Silas said quietly. "Why do you keep coming back?" The question hung in the air between us, loaded with more than just the present moment. Why did I keep coming back? For a lamp?
For closure?
Or because some part of me was still trapped in this twisted story, still playing the role of the desperate sidekick despite everything I knew? The sidekick is realizing she can't escape her narrative function. No matter how much she tries to break free, she's drawn back to the male lead. It's almost tragic, really. "Because," I said slowly, hating how small my voice sounded, "I'm tired of being written out of my own life." Silas's expression shifted, confusion replacing the cold mask. "What?" I shook my head, backing toward the door. "Nothing. Keep the lamp. Consider it a going-away present." But as I reached for the handle, his hand shot out, covering mine. "Vivian." My name on his lips was barely a whisper. "What did you mean?" I looked up at him, at this man who had torn my life apart without even realizing it, who was following a script I could see but couldn't seem to escape. This is it. The moment where the sidekick breaks down and confesses everything. Where she begs him to love her instead of the female lead. Where she seals her own doom. But I was so tired of being predictable. "I meant," I said, pulling my hand free, "that I'm done being a supporting character in someone else's love story." And for the first time since this nightmare began, the bullet chat went completely silent. The absence of those glowing words felt deafening. No commentary, no predictions, no cruel observations about my pathetic behavior. Just nothing. Silas stared at me, his dark eyes searching my face like he was trying to decode a language he'd never seen before. "Supporting character?" he repeated slowly. "Vivian, what the hell are you talking about?" I almost laughed. How could I explain that I'd been living inside a romance novel this whole time? That some cosmic force had been providing running commentary on my life like I was entertainment? That I knew exactly how this story was supposed to end, with me broken, discarded, and probably dead? "It doesn't matter," I said, but my voice cracked on the words. The silence stretched between us, heavy and strange. I kept waiting for the bullet chat to flicker back to life, to mock me for my dramatic exit line or predict Silas's next move. But the air remained mercifully clear. Silas stepped closer, his hand still hovering near mine on the door handle. "It does matter. Everything about you matters." "Stop." The word came out sharper than I intended. "Just stop with the lies. I know about her, your female lead, your second chance at love, your tragic past life romance." I was babbling now, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. "I know I'm just the placeholder, the convenient distraction until she comes back." His face went pale. "How do you?" He stopped, jaw clenching. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I yanked my hand away from the door, suddenly furious. "You pretended to be poor so I'd take care of you. You pretended to be mute so you wouldn't have to actually talk to me. And now you're pretending to care, so I won't make trouble for your real relationship." "That's not, isn't it?" I whirled to face him fully. "Then explain the woman at the bar. Explain why she knew things about your past life that I've never heard. Explain why your driver calls you Mr. Kane, and why you have enforcers, and why you can make people disappear with a phone call. Silas ran a hand through his hair, the careful composure I'd watched him wear like armor finally cracking. It's complicated. It's really not. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the photos I'd been too weak to delete. Look familiar? The screen showed the picture I'd taken of him sleeping, the one I'd sent to Chloe. His face in the image looked young, vulnerable. Nothing like the dangerous man standing in front of me now. You woke up that night and saw me taking this. I continued. You got angry. Violent even.
Why?
Because you were worried I'd expose your little charade? His eyes fixed on the photo, and something I couldn't name flickered across his features. Delete it.
Why?
Because... He stopped, seeming to struggle with the words. Because you don't know what it means. I stared at him. Still the bullet chat remained silent, offering no insight into his thoughts or motivations. For the first time since this whole mess started, I was flying blind. Then tell me, I said quietly. Tell me what it means. For a moment, I thought he might actually do it. His lips parted, and I saw something raw and desperate in his expression. But then his phone buzzed, shattering the fragile moment between us. He glanced at the screen and his face went cold again, the mask sliding back into place. I have to go. Of course you do. The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. Let me guess, she needs you? He didn't deny it, which somehow hurt worse than if he'd lied. Keep the lamp, I said, reaching for the door again. But change your security code. I won't be back. Vivian. I paused, hand on the handle, but didn't turn around. What? Be careful. The words were so soft, I almost missed them. When I looked back, his expression was unreadable, but there was something in his eyes that looked almost like fear. Careful of what? But he was already walking away, phone pressed to his ear, switching effortlessly into the cold, commanding voice I'd heard him use with his subordinates. I let myself out, my hands shaking as I waited for the elevator. The silence where the bullet chat should be felt wrong, like missing a heartbeat or forgetting to breathe. Had I actually managed to break free of the story? Or was this just another twist I hadn't seen coming? The elevator dinged softly as it arrived. Just as the doors began to slide open, the bullet chat blazed back to life with such intensity, one actually staggered. Error. Error. Narrative deviation detected. Sidekick behavior inconsistent with established character parameters. Attempting to correct. The words flashed red instead of their usual gold, pulsing like a warning siren. I stumbled into the elevator, pressing myself against the back wall as more text scrolled past. Attention. Story stabilization required. Sidekick must return to designated role or face immediate correction. Correction? I whispered aloud, but the elevator was empty. What kind of correction? The answer came in the form of new text, this time in stark, white letters that seemed to burn across my vision. The Sidekick has learned too much. She knows about the female lead's return. She knows about the male lead's true nature. She must be eliminated before she disrupts the central romance. My blood turned to ice. Eliminated? Correction in progress. The male lead will receive new instructions shortly. The elevator reached the ground floor with a cheerful ding that sounded obscene given the circumstances. I practically ran through the lobby, my heart hammering against my ribs. Whatever cosmic force controlled the story had apparently decided I was too much of a threat to keep around. But as I burst through the building's front doors into the afternoon sunlight, I realized something that made me stop dead in my tracks. The bullet chat had called it an error when I deviated from the script, which meant I actually could change things. I could rewrite this story. The question was, did I have the courage to try? My phone buzzed with a text from Chloe. Coffee later? You've been weird since that night at the bar, and I'm worried. I stared at the message, thinking about everything the bullet chat had shown me. About the fate it had promised me if I kept playing the sidekick role. About the woman who'd flung herself into Silas's arms and the love story I was supposedly disrupting just by existing. Then I typed back. Actually, want to help me commit some light breaking and entering instead? 3 appeared immediately, followed by, finally. I thought you'd never ask. If this story wanted me to be the villain, fine. But I was going to be the villain on my own terms. The bullet chat flickered uncertainly. Sidekick behavior remains unpredictable. Monitoring situation. I smiled grimly and started walking toward the subway. Let them monitor all they wanted. I was done being